Yeah, I knew you'd been preaching down there.
Yeah,
Okay, the folks that are online, we're about ready to start the meeting. And that's on. We're ready to go when I'm ready to go when you are.
They're ready down there?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
I don't know. You need to use the mic. But,
Nah, we're good.
okay. All right. Hand it here and I'll turn it off.
Yeah, I think so. Hey, we're going to go ahead and start our regular meeting. We'll call it to order. It is 6:44. And if you'll stand, we'll say the pledge. The flag.
Yeah, we've got a flag in here.
I'll just lead us this evening. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the record show that all board members are present in person. Who did that? I did. Okay. And we can begin with recognitions if we have any.
We just completed recognition. So prior to the meeting, we recognized students from the Wayne Feeder District that exceeded standards on the General Summative Assessment or SAT. So nice crowd, good recognition.
Yes. Excellent. Any presentations this evening?
No presentations.
Right. Informational items, special meeting on Tuesday, December 17th, beginning at 4 in the Wayne High School cafeteria. Also Wayne Middle School beginning at 5, also in the cafeteria.
And I believe that Mr. Miller told me that they're going to combine their presentations.
Okay.
So we might be able to set that up as one meeting. So
Excellent. All right, regular meeting on Thursday, December 19th, beginning at 6 in the board conference room. No school, December 23rd through January 2nd. That's our Christmas break. Construction project update.
yeah, real quickly, the Wayne High School VOAG building, we have asked McKinley to redo the specs to get that off the ground. And so we can advertise that for some local contractors that might be interested in the project at a reduced rate from what we were looking at before. The Wayne Elementary School, the pre-K room addition, the concrete floors have been poured for the addition, and they're laying block up. Some of the block is coming along pretty well. Of course, with all the rain this year or today, they had to shut down today, but it's coming along. So we're hoping by January 1st that it might be under roof. Buffalo K through 8, we're continuing the design process. We have a meeting out there with, we're going to start involving staff at the schools in the design process. Those meetings are scheduled for tomorrow morning. And then really the only other significant project we have going on is we have the PAR Roofing, who we awarded a contract to do some roofing work. They are out at the old Buffalo gym doing some roofing work. They started that work today. And that's all I have.
We have one delegation this evening.
Yes, Mr. Michaels.
You're setting the timer because he's a talker.
I'll try to be quick.
I'm gonna get right on this.
I brought this up a couple of years ago when we had the special meeting at the Wayne Middle School. Actually, it was 2 years ago, about getting a shelter for the bus stop at the high school and a shelter for the pickup line at the middle school. Right now, the kids are waiting out in the weather. My daughters came home about 3 weeks ago, drenched head to toe from the bus. It was very cold outside. I spoke to Mr. Alexander, and he is working, trying to get something going. I spoke with Mark Ross as well about this. I know that it's probably cost prohibitive, but we've got bad weather coming up, and I'd just like to see this project get moving forward. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got four more minutes.
Told you I'm quick.
All right, superintendent reports.
Yeah, I've got some paperwork here for you.
Okay.
We're going to be looking at some budget items this evening. The first one I want to present to you is the preliminary computations.
Okay.
We just received these within the last few weeks
Hot off the press, huh?
from the State Department of Education,
Okay.
the Office of School Finance. take one and pass it down. So again, based upon these preliminary computations, they will determine the district's funding for next year. So on page 1, in the very first column, and of course, you have all 55 counties listed here, you will see that our headcount enrollment is at 5,915. This is the first year we've dipped below 6,000. We were at 5,915. Those adjustments to FTE, those are for kids who are partially enrolled, not enrolled full-time. And there's other adjustments. So if you go to the far right-hand side of the page, you'll see our enrollment for funding, which is 5,908.68. On page 2, you're going to see professional educator data. You're going to see that we have 473 and a half professional educators in the district that are currently hired. And then as you work to the right, you'll see that we are allowed for funding 428 positions. So that puts us at an overage of 45.42. That's the number in parentheses.
Mm-hmm.
When they do some further calculations, again, professional educators chargeable, the charters, the final number that they come up with is 49.11. Now that's over formula.
Yeah.
So just keep that number in mind. If you go to the third page, you see our service breakdown. We have 391.9 positions employed. We're allowed 321.137. Leaves us with an overage of 70.7. And then as you work your way to the far right through the state's calculations, you'll see that we're 73.55 over on service personnel. Now, I always like to share these pages with you because you see all 55 counties.
Right.
And usually on the overage amount, we're usually up in the top 5. And these numbers are a little bit better than they typically are. We're closer to around 10. And so the numbers over formula have improved a little bit for us. Going to page 5. They go through a calculation here, your net enrollment, the number of professional instructors employed, and then they give a number of professional educators that the state will fund. So it just walks you through what they're doing to come up with the number of 428. On page 6 is our student support personnel. This is counselors, social workers, etc. You'll see we have 35 employed. We're funded for approximately 29 and a half. So if you work your way all the way to the right, you'll see we're approximately 5.71 positions over in student support personnel. And then your final page. Page 7 gives you a summary of these numbers. So in the first column, you have that number that we just saw from page 6, the 5.46 over in student support personnel. Professional educators, we are over 45.42. So they add both of those together to come up with that overall number of 50.88 over formula. So on the professional side, it's 50.88. And on the service side, that number is at 73. Now I have to, that service personnel number, my understanding on that is that this, what they're allowing for is the third grade positions that we have to add for next year. So those have already been allowed. We're going to have to add about 16 positions on the service personnel side.
Right.
And those will come later in the spring. So that true number is really about 89. And that would be
Right.
true for anybody on your list. However many they have to hire, you could add it to their number. So that number is deflated, and it's been deflated for several years because every year that new round of VCATs has been calculated. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what does that mean? So last year, when we went through personnel season, we had cut a total of 35 professional positions. We were approximately 65 over last year when we looked at these numbers. This year, we're at 50. So there was an improvement of 15, even though we cut 35 positions. And again, that's just those shifts. When you have that loss of enrollment, you don't get funded for as many positions. So you lose some of the work that you did during personnel season. So we were planning on seeing with the 35 positions cut, we estimated we would probably add back about 5 positions. And so we were planning on a cut that would end up resulting in about a cut of 30 positions that would drop us to about 35 over the formula. But again, with the enrollment loss, that number pops up 15. So we lost about half of what we expected to achieve with last year's cuts. So as we go through this year's cuts, we'll have to account for that.
Mhm.
The service personnel number, as we've talked about before, that's a very difficult number to deal with. You have, whether you have 20 kids that live in a particular location or 5 kids that live in a particular location, you still have to run a bus there. And so we're so geographically large, and so the number of buses that we have to run, and then with the number of facilities we operate, and we've talked about before, as the enrollment continues to drop in the special education population, that percentage is increasing. And so that requires some services and some lower ratio personnel to student outcomes. And so all that's a factor. So we just wanted you to see that. As soon as they will take these numbers, and then they will use these numbers to give us a estimate of what our funding is going to be in the different steps. And then we'll bring that to you just as soon as we receive that information. All right, second item on the list, we wanted to just take a look. Johnny, I'm going to give you that.
Okay. Thank you.
There might be one extra there, but you can take one down, pass it around. Actually, Jeb, I think I got one extra for you. You got it. Okay. We went back and looked at the last 3 years, really the last 4 years, because we have a year-to-date expense. So these are our different accounts in the general fund and expenditures year-to-date. And we just wanted to give you an idea of where those numbers track. Now, they can vary for different reasons from year to year. So, for example, our textbooks, when we are in the English language arts and mathematics years, those costs are substantially higher in our textbook adoption years. Those numbers go up to $1 million. When off years, it can be 500,000 or less. Those factor in. You can see that our professional salaries are down year to date. That's October 31st. Now it's still early in the year. But those numbers are going to be, they should be down after the personnel season that we had last year. Okay, you'll see that you can just see some of the costs as you go down through the items. Our sub cost is down about $30,000 at the end of October. But our service, that's our professional sub cost. Our service sub cost is higher than it was last year. If you go to page 2, you start getting into the benefits, Social Security, dental insurance, Social Security. I mentioned that before. the retirement systems, the workers' compensation numbers are slightly up, just a few $1,000s. Going to page 3. The other professional services that you see there, that there's a significant increase there. That was money that was used to pay for contractors to finish off the Wayne Middle School MIP project.
That's the answer.
Right. So we had ESSER money. I'm sorry. Yeah, we had ESSER money, HVAC money that we used for the 10 schools that we did window upgrades. And then I think 6 schools had HVAC upgrades. We had to have that money spent out by September 30th. So we had went ahead and used that money in advance to get it off the books as far as the state went. But that money now, the payments for that now shift into the regular budget. You'll see the water cost for the year is up about $15,000. Maintenance costs are down. Going to page 4. The insurance of the vehicles, the reason that you're seeing a significant increase there. Jeb, can you explain that?
Normally, we make an adjustment at the end of the year. It always thrown into prepaid as a prepaid asset and expense out at the end of the year. This year, I'm trying to expense it out every year, just so you guys are aware. You won't see a big adjustment at the end, you'll see it at half. We've made two quarterly premium payments. That's what that is.
Telephone voice services are down about 6,000. Advertising's down about 4,000. Or in-county travel, that's employees that are traveling within the district for job-related purposes, that's up. And the mileage is at what now, Jeb? 52 cents a mile?
I don't know.
It's 60, 67.
61.
Yeah.
It's up.
I know when I went to Washington, D.C. for the National Blue Ribbon thing, I couldn't believe what that mileage came back in at. Page 5, you'll see payment to charter schools. You remember at the end of the year, we had received some invoicing from some places, and then I think we did some invoicing ourselves from some kids that had come in to our district after the second month enrollment. So that's what that number represents. Our general supplies are down $43,000. Maintenance supplies are down. What is that, about $70,000?
Oh, yeah.
And that should be the case, you know, between with the HVAC replacements and
The upgrades.
yeah, we have newer equipment that's under warranty. So we should see those costs continue to decrease. Natural gas costs down $10,000.
But look at the way,
Look at the electric,
yeah. Mm,
up 100.
wow.
I mentioned the textbooks. There's where you see a big textbook hit.
Mhm.
And those are the math textbooks. Our fuel and diesel costs are down about $9,000.
Wow.
Gasoline costs down a couple $1,000s. Tire costs are up slightly. Parts are down about 13,000.
Yeah.
But you can see how those change from 22 to the current year.
Mhm.
Technology software down 8,000. Bus replacement now, as that's some of those buses as they come in, that'll shoot up at about $130,000 a pop.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are all the items that come from the general fund, correct, Jim? Okay.
And this is how much we're over as of October 31st. I mean, how much more it is than last year, to October 31st.
October
right?
31st. And again, I want to stress it's what Jeb just indicated. Some of those costs he's went ahead and pushed up. They wouldn't have reflected on October 31st
Last
report
year.
from last year.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's some significant numbers there, but we'll continue to track this. Probably every couple months, we'll come back
Okay.
and revisit this.
Good.
We need to make up at least 1.4 million.
Right. Any idea about how much those costs that we've gone ahead and pushed forward, what the total of that is?
I'm sorry.
The costs that you've gone ahead and pushed forward that we wouldn't have seen from last October, do you have an estimate on what you think those are?
Probably, the biggest one you see there is the insurance.
Right.
adjustment. Another item would be, could be the retirement number.
Okay,
Just, every so often, I'm making increase just a tag. It's just this time, where our current situation of how to adjust it
as we go. I
I'll
got
be
you.
making adjustments more often at the end of the month.
Gotcha. So at least the insurance cost or the vehicle insurance wouldn't have been reflected last October.
Correct.
The prior year, that entry wouldn't have been made until the end of the year.
Gotcha.
Okay, we'll move on to our next item. And again, if you have any questions about any of those items, just mark those up and we can address anything else as you have more time to look at that information. We want to look at the budget review for the capital and permanent improvement. So you're used to seeing this format on the treasurer's reports. And I want to concentrate on funds 51 and 61. So what you have on the left-hand side, you have the revenue. And it's, you have two columns where we stand currently year to date. And this is as of November 30th. And then in the second column, you have that same year-to-date revenue last school year. And then you have the notation, whether it's a difference, increase or a decline. And of course, the declines are in parentheses. For the capital projects, the revenue has increased in Fund 51 by approximately $824,000. And again, that's a timing thing. That's, Jeb, you said that was SBA money coming in.
That's SBA money, and it's also money that we had budgeted to transfer from the general fund into Fund 51, the capital projects fund for the CUSACs, the two CUSACs that we paid.
Okay.
That was.
And then Fund 41, our permanent improvement fund, that comes through our revenue, comes through our excess levy for that, or a part of our regular levy for that.
Our record.
Yeah. A certain percentage of that is dedicated. And you'll see that the revenue on Fund 41 is up approximately $35,000. Now, if you go to the second set of three columns, you're going to see the expenditures for the year. So in Fund 41, the revenue's up $35,000 and the expenditures are down $500,000. And if you'll remember, we looked at cutting back on the budget cost at the end of the year. And so we went from $978,000 spent last year to $470,000 spent currently. And then under capital projects, there's been a $31,000 decrease in expenditures there. The big item that we have going on right now that will affect these line items is the Wayne Elementary School Major Improvement Project. The Buffalo project, the design, it'll have a slight impact, but we're timing now to start that next summer. So we can get through the majority of the cost for the Wayne Elementary School MIP. Jeb, anything else you want to point out there?
I'll just point out that Fund 21 and Fund 31 is bond debt service and bond construction fund. They both fund themselves. That's just money in from tax collections and money out at the end of the year. If you look at the general current fund, Mr. Alexander said, we're up in revenue 2.4 million this year compared to prior year, but we're up 2.7 or 2.8 in expenditures, so about $341,000 compared to we're over in expenditures as compared to revenue collected so far this year, 341,000. Right.
And then those expenditures, they calculate in the latest round of pay raises, correct?
Yes.
The latest round of pay raises, they calculate in the additional positions that were added for the second grade ECATs. So that's new for the 24 year. So we are closely monitoring that personnel cost. When we cut 30 positions out of that, that was helpful, but we need to see the overall impact of that. And so looking at the numbers, we'll continue to monitor, and hopefully those savings on the personnel side compound by the time that we look at this next time. Okay, it's a lot of information and you're seeing that. I know you're just seeing that for the first time this evening. So again, if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to contact me. If you want to discuss any items in particular, we can do that either this evening or at a later meeting. I know at our last meeting, we had looked at, we were looking at budget numbers and the declining enrollment of the district and how that affected the number of facilities. And specifically, I had listed Genoa and Dunlow on the agenda just to be transparent because they are our smallest two facilities. So I had a meeting with some of the staff there yesterday. I know that some legislators have contacted me directly and probably contacted some of the board members. And they're hopeful that something's going to happen with the school funding formula that's going to change. It's going to change some of the revenue that's coming in. And so with that being said, we're going to hold off on the Genoa Dunlow, any type of recommendation about closure there until a little bit later in the year. We'll reassess the budget at that point. We will see what type of action has come from the State House and what other expenses we might be facing. One of the things I've been monitoring, I understand its impact on individuals, but I don't know exactly I haven't heard anything on what the impact is going to be for the systems themselves on the PEIA cost. Is that anything that the treasurers are talking about, Jeb? Have you received any information on that?
I haven't received anything in detail. It's predicted to go up.
Yeah, I'm just assuming if the cost for the employees goes up, the cost for the employer is going to go up as well. So that's something else that we're going to have to monitor as we move forward. Okay, that's all I have.
All right, no board directives or board reports. I think we have delegations on here twice for some reason.
My fault.
No problem.
Everybody had it.
No superintendent, we already did that. So, moving on to our new business consent action items. Superintendent recommends approval of the following action items. Additional items received prior to the time of the meeting may be added. Discussion and/or separate action of the items may be requested by members of the board and/or the superintendent. Number one, consider for approval the recommended personnel matters on pages 1 through 5.
I do need to make one adjustment. On page 1, Christopher Lucas is listed for hiring as the JROTC instructor at Wayne High School. We need to delay that recommendation, so I'm going to pull that recommendation this evening.
Okay.
We have to get approval. He has to have approval from the Army
Oh, okay.
that he's approved on their end for the position. We have not received word on that yet, so
Okay.
I'll bring that back to you at a later date, but it would be premature to act on it today.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve those.
I second.
Motion by Randy, second by Dennis. I think there's a couple of
Yeah,
names we need to fill in.
I want to point out something. So number on page 2, there is some positions being created. Now, we've talked about the numbers over formula. These are strictly student need. These are have to have situations with autism mentors based upon numbers and based upon needs at those schools. But from this point forward, and we keep notes of them, any positions that we have to add during the course of the year, just add to those numbers that we were looking at
Right.
earlier. And then there's we had an overage in a kindergarten classrooms at Kellogg, and there's a staff member that has to be added there as well by code to meet the enrollment thresholds for the kindergarten classrooms. We have some items on here, some termination items and some suspension items. The first is on page 2. I'm recommending the suspension of a service employee without pay from November 5th to December 10th. And again, by policy and through legal advice, we do have to provide the names of the people that are involved in those recommendations. That name is Deanna Williamson. And then the termination that is below it is also for Deanna Williamson. That would be effective December 11th, 2024. On page 4, there's a recommendation of a termination of a coach effective November 13th. There's 2 contracts involved there. This is a citizen coach by the name of Cherie Bryant. That's Sheree Bryant. She holds 2 positions, both at Vincent Middle School. One of those is a volleyball assistant, and then the other is a girls basketball assistant. So I'm recommending that we terminate both of those contracts. And then I provided you should have laying in front of you the letters that were provided to the employees that include the circumstances behind the recommendations and also indicate the employee's right to request a hearing. In neither case did the employee request a hearing.
She didn't request a hearing, right?
No, in neither item. If there's anything that you need to see on either one of those two cases, I have the files for those two matters with me. If there's anything, any further information you need, we would have to go into executive session to do that.
Okay, what two instances did this? Did you say two instances?
Yeah, there's two termination recommendations, the coach and then the service
Okay,
employee.
The coach.
It's
Yeah.
two contracts right here.
Yeah, I knew that, but I didn't know which.
No, I just meant for the two individuals,
Oh, two
not two instances.
Okay, okay.
Gotcha. All right. Any other questions or concerns? So Randy made the motion, Dennis made the second. Personnel matters as revised. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. For 2, consider for approval the voucher payments for November 2024 on pages 6 through 15.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Dennis. Second,
Second.
Johnita. Questions or concerns?
I just have one concern on page 6. 9855 PayPal. What do we use PayPal for?
Jim,
I think I pulled that. It should be,
I can hear you.
it should be up there. I think I pulled that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I just,
You have been. I do know I've had those. I said you have been pulling those because I'd requested them. You've been putting
did
them in.
you highlighted the ones you pulled? Yeah, it's not highlighted. We'll pull it and send it to you, Johnny.
okay, thank you.
I'm assuming that has to do with companies that don't accept purchase orders.
Probably, yeah, it's, I'll pull it down to you in the morning.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, of course I do.
Yes, sir. What you got?
On page 6, the Glade Springs Resort, $14,571.45. Not quite halfway down the page.
Yeah,
Retreat.
They had her before the beginning.
Principal's opening meeting.
Okay.
And that's paid for with specific
Funding for it.
funding for professional development, so it can't be spent on anything else. It has to go towards,
Where does that come from?
Title programs.
And the other one. On page 9, top of the page is 9. Travel doctors, $6,986.31.
how far down?
It's
Oh, I see it.
about, yeah,
on the
fourth of the
wrong
way.
page.
Person does trips, they could,
Travel
I
doctors.
don't know, but
We'll pull it. I would assume it's probably an extracurricular related trip.
that's what I was thinking. Because we've sent some out to Arizona, didn't we?
Over the summer, yeah,
Over the summer, I'm not sure.
or the late summer. I think some of our directors and our curriculum specialists went and presented
So, but we'll just guess.
somewhere, so.
We have the check date November 8th. I said the check date's November 8th.
Yeah.
For travel doctor,
Yeah.
164,665.
Did you mark that to pull? Okay. Anything else?
Page 10, about halfway down the page, Legal Shield. I know what Legal Shield is, but what service do they provide?
that is payroll deduction from employees,
Okay,
professional employees.
okay. And then I know you always provide with the Amazon, that it's on the first page, very top of the page,
Yeah.
$40,500. I get lots and lots of questions from constituents or whatnot about Amazon purchases. I try to explain them to the best of my ability, but there's multiple, 2 or 3 places through here I saw more Amazon. And
I think the majority of that stack is Amazon. I think we pulled them all. I believe it, and we tried to.
okay. I hadn't looked at it yet.
And that,
Does that come from that funding that where the teachers can order supplies, like when I taught art and the like? Where they use Amazon or some other entity?
A lot of that is teachers. Amazon will take purchase order. So if we order something from Amazon, we have to use Mr. Alexander's
So it's stuff the teachers need.
key card.
Okay.
Kim can, if she wants to order something from Amazon, she'll call our office, we'll order it, buy it, come around and bill her.
And I write a check from the school out of the fund.
The largest percentage of those come from Title I funds,
Yeah.
and it's for classroom
On the
supplies.
flip side, if our computer department wants to buy computers, you'll see a lot of parts.
Right, that was one I did notice last month was a USB cord. It's-
Our computer department will order a lot from Amazon.
but even when the schools order them, they have to send it to Title I and get them approved, don't they?
Yeah, they go
They
through,
get the school purchase order approved for them to.
Prior to order.
Yeah, they go through-
So the director,
they go through 3 steps of approval.
exactly, I just wanted to say that. It's not like everybody has a free hand to order
Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah, I understand that. It's just, it's a large amount and
Yeah.
a lot of people are asking
Oh,
questions, just
yeah.
to be honest with you about it. On page 11, and I know I probably sound like a broken record on this, and it may be the same thing that we had a question last month on. It was on the Playmates, 118,764, and then 15,093. It's a little over halfway down the page. Those are 2 more payouts to Playmates.
Right. And that contract that we do with them at the beginning of the year is this year it was approximately $1 million. So over, over,
Almost.
over the course of the year, those payouts will be made
Right.
for those services.
I just want to check on that. And then the last thing is the Mason and Berry down at the bottom of that page. And I'd like to request a year-to-date expenditure to this company for our next board meeting.
Like I said, here, what was it for?
Mason and Berry, it's a heating and air conditioning.
No problem.
Right.
One last one, and I'll quit. Last page, page 15. Is down next to the bottom, JAG Floors and Restoration, is that a $7,500 expenditure? Is
Yes.
that a gym floor or,
It's bathroom floors at Tulsa High School.
okay.
Anything else?
I don't think so. I don't.
All right. Any other questions or concerns? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 3, consider for approval the purchase requisition order and quotes in excess of $5,000, pages 16 through 26. Motion,
I make it.
Dennis. Second,
I'll second.
Johnita? Questions, concerns? Discussion? How close are we to getting our own Mason and Berry guy? Instead of depending on Mason and Berry so much.
The,
I know there was some training out there and we were looking to send somebody.
right. So, and again, Missy and I talked about this the other day, but when we do new school construction, so like with Fort Gay, with Crum, with Spring Valley High School, the massive HVAC renovation that went there, the 10 schools that we just completed the renovations on this summer, all that work is, it's either bid out, which we did bid out the 10 schools, and Mason and Berry was the low bidder on that. So some of the payments that you're seeing going to them is contracted work that was done through a low bid. When they were selected for the school projects, that's either because they received low bid on it or because they were part of the general contractor's bid package. And so they're the ones that put the system in, so they're the ones that work on the system. So that's why you see them doing a lot of the work in the county. We are bringing another contractor on board that does HVAC work as well. You'll be seeing some activity there because we've had issues with HVAC system down at Crum and Mason and Berry's. They don't have anybody that can get it corrected, that has the expertise to work on that system down there as far as the actual units themselves. In addition, Mason and Berry, all the door access controls, they were contracted by the school board over the years. They did the majority, if not all, of the school access controls as well. So anytime we do anything with school access controls, anytime there's a problem with school access controls, which I can tell you is just about a daily basis, they're involved in that as well. So they've got their hands in several things. So that's why their names come up consistently. I did check with a neighboring county regarding their expenditures for that type of work. And so we've taken a look at that, but we'll continue to monitor it, and we'll provide you all the activity that's been done this fiscal year from that company.
I just have concerns, to be honest with everyone. I have a lot of concerns with the issues that we've had and we've discussed with our heating and cooling systems across the county. It's like we hear it all the time, and new systems are not even working correctly.
The old systems tend to work better than the new systems.
Yeah,
So the
really?
new systems are the biggest headache. Yeah. And I know it doesn't make anybody feel any better, but we hear that from other locations as well. The new stuff just, I don't know what it is. I can tell you, like, one of the things when they do these systems, what's recommended is one of Mason Berry's big responsibilities, putting controls on these systems where you can monitor them from outside. You can monitor them from a laptop. We could get on and see what the temperature was in rooms at Crum or Fort Gay or Spring Valley, whatever it might be. We have problems with the new units that we put into the schools are on those monitoring systems. Well, if the electricity glitches, which it does down here consistently, if there's any kind of power surge, anything like that, it takes the systems offline. And I don't know that it's not more of a headache than what it's worth. So we'll see here as we move forward. But we'll pull all that information.
Okay.
All right.
Who made the motion on that?
Dennis.
Okay.
John Eden made the second.
Okay.
Any other questions or concerns on those requisitions? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. New business, separate action items. Number one, consider for approval the treasurer report for November 2024 on page 27.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Johnita, second. Randy. Questions or concerns? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number two, consider for approval budget supplement and transfers for November 2024, pages 28 through 31.
Motion to approve.
Motion by
Second.
Johnita, second by Mark. Questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Three, consider for approval the contract between Wayne County Board of Education and Mountain State Educational Service Cooperative for the classroom aid services for 24-25 school year.
This is for a classroom associate. This is for the situation we talked for assistance for a visually impaired employee.
Impaired. Motion to approve.
Motion by Johnita, second.
I like it.
Dennis. Any other questions or concerns? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Four, consider for approval out-of-state field trip request, Spring Valley Band to travel to Virginia Beach, April 14th through the 17th, and that's funded by the Spring Valley Band Boosters.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Randy, second
Okay.
Johnita.
Yeah,
It was kind of a tie, so
okay,
What did we do there? Randy
Randy,
yeah.
and second.
Johnita. Any questions or concerns about that trip?
That was like Jeopardy. Everybody hitting the buzzer
I know,
at once.
right?
I really think I won, but that's okay.
I think we need a
We need
button
some
here for
lights or
everybody to see who
something,
goes first.
something to light
We
up.
buzzers.
All
I
right.
think I could beat you all.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consider for approval course standards for locally approved fire service courses.
So moved.
Second.
Mark made the motion,
I tried to beat him, but I thought. it wouldn't
second by
work.
Johnita. Any questions or concerns on those standards?
So
Tell you what, I
we're
looked through that and it looked awfully comprehensive. I mean, it covered things that I would never have thought about.
yeah, that will be a locally approved course. So by approving those course standards, that allows us to create the course number for the course and proceed with the
Right.
implementation of the program.
Right. Any other questions or concerns?
I'll just share some information if it's okay.
Sure.
I did have the opportunity last Friday to go with our instructor, Dave Caudill, to Spring Valley. We've been to Spring Valley and Tulsa. We've had good turnouts at both. Last week at Spring Valley, I was really impressed. There was over 20 kids there
Really?
and lots of questions, lots of interest. So I'm real happy about that.
So we've got it here at Wayne currently, and we're Tulsa and Spring Valley were in the works, correct? So,
That's the plan, to try to do a rotation next year, hopefully with two schools.
Yeah.
right,
If we have enough interest at Tulsa. I
Okay.
think there will be
I
at
think
Spring
we will.
Valley, but if not, maybe we can do another rotation here if there's interest.
right. Okay, good. All right. Any other questions? Right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consider for a discussion disposing of the surplus real properties.
So we've had some discussion much earlier in the year about some of the real properties that we have that we're no longer using for educational programming. So I brought that policy with you,
Okay.
or for you, I should say. Make sure you got enough copies there. You do. Okay. This is policy 7300, the disposition of real property, and it reflects a state code. And if you go down to the fourth paragraph that starts out except, it says except as set forth below, anytime a board determines that any building or land is no longer needed for school purposes, the real property must be sold at public auction unless it is sold to, and we've done that in the past, unless it is sold to A, the state or political subdivisions, including county commissions or agencies thereof, for an adequate consideration. B, the United States of America or any instrumentality, agency or political subdivision thereof, provided that the property is included in any federal flood control project. Or C, a private nonprofit tax exempt organization having been granted tax exempt status by RS Code 501c3 through 8 inclusive 19 or 23 for nominal consideration, provided that the property is for charitable, economic development, or other community use, and provided further that the title to the property reverts to the board if the organization dissolves or ceases to use the property for the intended purpose within the first 5 years of such conveyance. So I think that those are the key items in determining what to do with what the board might identify as surplus property. So the properties that we have right now that currently aren't being used, and we've talked about the Westmoreland property before. We have the gymnasium down there, and then we have a portion of the building. And years ago, the board had given a portion of that building to the Wayne County Community Services Organization. So you have that property. We still have the old Buffalo Gymnasium, which the youth leagues out at Buffalo utilize. And then we have the old Fort Gay Gymnasium, which is there in the community. To my knowledge, the school's not using that for any events or practices or anything like that. So those are the three properties. I had looked into getting an appraisal on the Westmoreland property earlier. That appraisal was going to come in at about $6,000. So I didn't want to spend that money until we had clear direction on what we wanted to do with that. Later on in this policy, it does mention that the board may, and it's the third paragraph from the bottom. It says all property considered for disposition or sale may be subjected to a current report from an independent licensed appraiser prior to the solicitation of offers. So with the rising cost of maintenance, with everything that we're doing,
Right, they're good to get rid of it.
there's going to be roofing needs. We roofed the Buffalo Gym a number of years ago, but there's still portions of that facility that have roof on it that need replaced. We did some repair work in the old Fort Gay Gym, minimal. Repaired the floor down there. There had been some roof leaks down there. I think, did we put a new roof on that gym? I think we did.
Yeah.
I think we put a new roof on the Fort Gay Gym. We have not put a new roof on the Westmoreland Gym, but it's in desperate need for one. And the heating system is an issue there too. So those are locations that we have to determine how we want to move forward.
So basically, we have to either auction or we can sell to one of these three entities,
Correct.
but it can't just be handed over to somebody, right? I mean, in the past, a lot of our properties have been given away.
I think the common thing you see is property sold for $1.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay.
And, sometimes that would make sense. If you had a property that needed a new roof on it, was in disrepair, that, you're going to have a couple $100,000 worth of expenses, and a municipality or somebody was going to take that over.
Yep.
You're not going to expect that they're going to give you any,
Right, top dollar. for it. I
top
understand.
dollar for it when they're going to have to invest some significant dollars in it coming into it.
We're going to come out with a good.
Right. And when this says that we could sell it to like a 501c, but the property has to be for charitable and economic development, how do we determine that? Is that
or community purposes.
right?
Yeah, I think if we were going to consider a private, or if we want to consider an entity that was a 501(c), we would want to get,
A plan of what they,
well, we would want to get a determination made by our attorneys on whether it qualifies under West Virginia code to transfer that property over. I think our two most pressing issues are probably the Fort Gay Gym and the Westmoreland Gym.
right,
The Buffalo Gym is in use by the youth leagues out there. The Fort Gay Gym, there's some use there by the cheerleaders associations and things like that, but the gym needs a lot of repair work done to it.
right.
And I think if anybody was interested in that property, the sooner that we can get it into somebody's hands that could possibly do some upgrades, the better.
Right.
So I don't know, any comments, any suggestions, anything you guys want to see with this?
I mean, I'm fine with auction. It's especially the Fort Gay and Westmoreland, just because they're difficult to manage right now. Westmoreland needs a lot of repair, and I don't think we want to subject our budget to those type of repairs.
I concur.
So,
Now, how much are we spending on the Buffalo gym though?
well, I mean,
What nice shape it's in.
it's spent. I mean, we
I mean,
we did that
yeah,
already.
So why not get rid of all three of them?
I don't know who, I mean, at least with Westmoreland and Fort Gay, they have towns and groups around them that could
Right.
take over.
Todd, have you had any discussion or inquiry from any of the youth groups there at Buffalo? Because I know they put a lot of money out on those baseball fields.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. A gentleman by the name of Randy Kilgore, I believe, is the gentleman. The youth league out at Buffalo has pretty much taken care of that building. We stepped in, probably
Maybe 4
4 or 5 years ago, because they just didn't have the money to put a roof on it,
Okay.
and it was an issue. So we put a roof on it there. Same thing at the Fort Gay Gym.
They seem to be pretty good at raising money to do stuff, you know.
Yeah.
If it's not an expense to us.
Right.
But
I mean,
So that's looking at the budget issues that we have or we're facing. And I personally think that we should proceed with looking into getting these off of our
books.
financial burden.
Right.
And, reserve, I think the board should be able to reserve the right to accept or reject the bids. If, I know the one that we've talked about bidding a lot would be the Westmoreland building because of just the location,
Right.
in town like that.
When we auctioned off properties previously, we set a minimum low bid on
Yeah.
those.
Okay, that's what I was getting.
And so that's how we handled it. I don't know if it would be a good suggestion to let me go ahead and talk to people that are involved in all three locations and let them know that, it's up for consideration. And if there's a nonprofit that they believe that they fall under these policies, they can make an offer
Yeah,
that
that'd
could
be
be
good.
considered, and not only nonprofits, but also the municipalities as well,
sure, I think that'd be good.
whether it's the town of Fort Gay or the city of Huntington,
Right.
or if the Little League has some ideas about how we can move forward with the concerns at any of the locations. So I think maybe we just advertise right now and then say that we want to see any proposals that they have for us. What date would
What's
you
out
think would
there?
be a good date to cut it off? We could do the end of January. We could do mid-January.
Yeah, okay.
Anybody have any suggestions?
Sounds like a good idea to
January
me.
sounds good.
January
End of January,
15th.
mid-January, somewhere in there, just to give everybody a chance to get through the holidays and keep it on
Mid-January.
their,
I would say January 15th.
something like that.
'Cause
Whatever.
we're paying heating and cooling bills on those buildings also.
What's our,
Got to look at the big
whatever our
picture.
first meeting in January would be.
Well, let me check.
Would you check that date?
I'll be glad to.
I said the 15th because that's a month from pretty much where we're at.
That would be
Right.
on
That would give Mr.
January
Alexander time to,
14th,
Well, worked out.
January the 14th.
January 14th.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll report back to you then.
So, you get on that.
Okay, so we're going to table this for now.
Right.
So our discussion is tabled then.
And we'll be having further discussion towards the end of the year. Once we get those new rooms, the pre-K rooms established down for Wayne Elementary, that facility will be empty. And so we'll have to determine what we're going to do there. We also have the Ferguson building,
Oh,
the old
yeah.
Ferguson building that has mold issues in it that we're using for storage, but that's all it's being utilized for right now. So I think
Can that be like moved whenever the pre-K goes to the elementary school?
Yeah, and we've used available spaces at the central office, and then also the trailer that was on our property
Mhm.
that was used before by the state.
Mhm.
They let us use that now, so that's what we've been using. But
What about the
one,
basement in the personnel office? It was a big basement. I don't know what's in it, but
we've got blueprints, that type of thing.
Okay.
It's been used for storage as well.
okay.
But those we'll have to deal with those at the end of the year once that pre-K opens up.
Yeah.
Or it probably be closer to fall.
Yeah.
They probably won't finish up until right before the year starts.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, motion to
Wait,
adjourn.
we got potential items for
Oh,
future
shoot.
agendas. One more
Do you have
thing.
anything there, Todd?
You're in a hurry, Jonita.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah, she didn't want me to say anything. I'm not going to say anything.
she's got the floor. She's
Got you all.
Reflects on your
I second
evaluation.
again.
No, I didn't mean to. I thought that was all the discussion, was what we were doing. What do you have, Todd? I'm here. I'm all yours.
No, I didn't have
Now,
anything
don't be
tonight.
mad. Are you sure?
I'm not mad.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Johnny, the
I
second,
second.
Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I just do
Motion
whatever
carries
one of you
5-0.
all want to do.
7:51.
I'm the one that does it.
Thank you all.
Okay, that concludes the meeting. We will now end the stream.
How many do we have? How many fans?
It was up to 7 at one point.
Oh, wow.